Well, a couple of days ago, we talked about the story of the Ballard Little League fields that have been taken over by the homeless population, heroin, meth, a lot of them criminals to feed their habit. But we also told the story about how I talked to a 12-year-old girl yesterday. They saw what they believe was a dead, naked man who was finally carted off the field. These are 12-year-old kids who have to witness it. I heard from a listener who said up near Miller Park on Capitol Hill, there was a woman presumably dead laying in the street that kids saw. And I asked a question. I said, when I was a dad of kids that age, because the kids can't use the soccer, baseball, lacrosse, softball at Miller Park on Capitol Hill. And I said, when my girls were that age, I think us dads would have removed the tents. And then I admitted, maybe I'm just talking tough because I don't know just how horrible it is inside those tents. I got a text from listener Eric who said, I live near Miller. My kid goes to Maney. We used to use the field every day. It's impossible to get the homeless out of there without a physical altercation. I've tried. The city is apathetic at best, and at worst would arrest me for infringing on squatters' rights. And I just think this is such an interesting issue because, I asked specifically, why don't dads do something about this? So here is that dad, Eric, joining us here on the Dori Monson Show. Eric, good to talk to you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Dori. It's good to talk about this because it's really important, especially for parents.
Well, and then you followed up with an email, and you said it is a dystopian nightmare to watch these 20 and 30-somethings throwing frisbees and holding boot camps while the entire field is surrounded by people who are soul-stripped and barely alive physically and metaphorically. That's very powerful stuff. Tell me about your experience as a dad and just watching what's happening here.
Well, about 3 years ago, and this is long before COVID, by the way, there was an occasional tent there, and it may be an occasional disruptive homeless person, but it wasn't really a problem. And it's gone straight downhill ever since, to the point where, you literally can't run around the perimeter of the field. Sometimes at practice, parents could jog around the perimeter of the field. I even saw a couple of elderly couples that would, walk around the field, when I was there walking my dog or whatever. And now those people have all but disappeared, and it's completely encased with encampments and even in the dugouts. Okay, yeah. So keep in mind, it's not just the youth soccer; it's Little League that plays there as well. As there's baseball fields there. And, I don't know how they're going to play when there's tents in the dugouts and you can't remove them, not to mention it's a safety hazard. So, and I've even witnessed somebody cooking meth. I've witnessed this lady cooking meth, actually. She had knocked the outlet cover off of a power outlet that's in back of one of the fields, on the south west side. And she had it plugged in, and whatever she was cooking, it wasn't food.
Wow. You know what's amazing, Eric, is like you said, just how exponentially fast this has grown. And as you were talking about that, I remember it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. There was one homeless guy in a tent on the Pop Warner football field at Inner Bay. And it was so shocking that there was one homeless guy on the football field. I sent my intern out there to do a report and to take pictures. One guy on one field. Now there are hundreds in every park, and it has exploded so fast, it just blows your mind.
It's funny you mentioned, it's not funny, but you mentioned Ballard. Well, my brother lives in North Beach, and he's said that the parks there are, just as bad as Miller. He came down here a couple of months ago and saw Miller Park, and he says it's even worse than Ballard in spots, if you can believe it. So we're on opposite sides of the political spectrum, by the way. So, this is something I think we can all agree on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I said something yesterday, and then I said, you know what, maybe I'm just being ridiculous. But I said, I don't know why the dads don't get a couple of pickup trucks and in force just pull the tarps and the tents off their kids' fields. When you wrote to us, you said you've tried numerous times to get rid of the tents. In several cases, you've nearly had physical altercations. How bad is it if dads or moms tried to do what the city refuses to do, and that's simply enforce the law?
Well, you could definitely get injured. I mean, especially if you're not adept at defending yourself. I mean, you don't know what they have in those tents. And, my experience has been that a few of them are young. I mean, these aren't, elderly, ex-vets and people of that ilk. A lot of them are young people that are in these tents. And, if you're a 40-something or 50-something, 60-something dad, and you're going to try to, you're going to get into an altercation with one of those people, it may not end very well for you, especially if they all come towards you at one time.
One listener reminded me of, when they did the sweep up at near Chaz, and in the tents they found machetes, knives, guns. You're right. I think the image that a lot of people have of the homeless is dramatically different from the violent reality of today.
Yeah, Dori, it just simply isn't like it was, when you came across the homeless person, 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
There's, all different reasons why somebody can become homeless. I understand that. But, in today's world, it's a completely different crop of people, and many of them are extremely dangerous. And a lot of it, I think almost all of it is due to drug addiction, drug use.
Sure.
But nevertheless, that's the case. In the old days, maybe it was the homeless person down on his luck, occasional drug user, who just couldn't get clean or what have you. But generally speaking, there wasn't a lot of danger involved. I mean, but you're talking in terms of removing the tents. I mean, Dori, you're talking about literally truckloads, to remove some of these tent encampments. I sent some pictures to Nicole that I had taken this morning.
Yep.
And I mean, you need moving trucks to take this.
Well, not only that, but you probably need a hazmat suit too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And then not to mention there's needles and a lot of things that are in the ground. And once people walk on them, they get pushed further and further in the ground. So you literally have to, get backhoes in there and scrape up, layers off of the surface of the grassy areas that people, by the way, used to sit under there in the shade and have lunch or whatever, or just relax. Those days are all gone.
So
now.
Let me ask you, Eric, because you told me the ages of your kids, and it goes by so fast, man. You've probably experienced that with 13, 14-year-olds, and now that my girls are grown, it goes by so fast, and the moments of athletics were so precious to our family. Do you think about, and I'm not suggesting you should, because I believe in standing and fighting for our city, but do you think about getting out with your kids and with your family and just getting out of Seattle because of what our politicians have done to the city?
Not only do I think about it, but I don't know if I should say this, but we just bought a house in Lake Forest Park. So
I did not know that, but I asked the question.
I
That's
purposely
very funny.
did not tell you because I had a feeling this conversation might drift towards that, that arena. And it literally, when I bought this house, you got to remember, I kept moving west. I grew up in Connecticut, and then I just kept moving west, and I ended up here in 2002. I came out here to go hiking with my brother, and it was just amazing. So I thought this was going to be my final place. This was paradise to me. The city was beautiful. Of course, like with any city, you have an occasional homeless person or someone urinating up against a tree when they're drunk. Of course. Yeah. But it just deteriorated to the point where I really didn't feel like I had much of a choice, unfortunately. And I haven't given up hope, but something has to be done because it's certainly pushed us out.
It's untenable situation. I'm with you. Well, Eric, I really appreciate you contacting me and sharing your story. I wish for your family much more peace when you get out here to God's country.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me on, Dori.
Thank you, Eric. All right. That's Eric, who is fleeing Seattle, literally, because of how the problem's gotten.
Well, not yet.
Okay, right. On your way. I got you. All right. Thank you, Eric. Let me know what you think about what you just heard. You can text me at 98973. That's 98973. And we have lots more to come here on the Dori Monson Show.